The glass slipped from my hand and shattered across the kitchen tile, but no one moved to pick it up. Every face in that house had turned toward me. 30 guests packed into Scott's sprawling lakefront home. Their laughter cut off like someone had yanked the cord. "You sold it," the man in the blazer said again, louder this time. "You sold the property without telling him." Without telling anyone. Scott froze. His wife's hand hovered near his arm, but she didn't touch him. My chest was tight, my pulse thudding in my ears. I watched Scott's jaw flex, his old trick when he was cornered. The room was silent. And then, very slowly, Scott turned his eyes on me. The first time Scott lied to me. We were 10. He swore he hadn't stolen my baseball card, even though the corner of the plastic sleeve stuck out from his pocket. I didn't say anything then. That's the thing about childhood. You think silence keeps the friendship alive. By the time we were 18, we'd already decided we'd build something together. Not a company, not a career, but a place. His grandfather's land sat out on the edge of town, acres of woods, and an old barn half collapsed. We spent whole summers out there, swearing we'd fix it up, make it ours, maybe even live there someday. We signed our names on a scrap of paper, a stupid kid's contract. "Equal halves," he said, grinning. No matter what, I believed him. Years later, after college, Scott was already rising fast in real estate. While I was patching drywall and taking odd jobs, he invited me to parties full of people who looked at me like I was the help. But when it was just the two of us, he still called me his brother. Then one day I drove out to the land. A for sale sign leaned against the fence post, half hidden in the grass. When I asked Scott, he laughed it off. "Preliminary listing. Just testing the waters. Don't worry, I'd never move on it without you." The way he said it was so smooth I almost let myself believe him. Almost now, in his kitchen, the accusation hanging in the air. I saw it again, that same smoothness straining at the edges of his face. "You don't know what you're talking about," Scott said. His voice was even, but a muscle jumped in his cheek. The man in the blazer didn't back down. "County records don't lie. You signed papers. Last month, people started murmuring." I felt 30 sets of eyes darting between us. My stomach twisted. I didn't need the man's proof. I already knew. The truth had started dripping out weeks ago. A buddy from the county clerk's office had called me, hesitant. "Look, I shouldn't even be telling you this, but I figured you'd want to know. That property, you and Scott's, his name's the only one on the deed. Now, yours disappeared in a quiet transfer about 6 months back. My name, gone, like it had never existed." I'd driven home numb, gripping the steering wheel so hard my hands ached. Scott hadn't just lied. He'd erased me. The weeks after that felt like drowning in slow motion. He stopped answering my calls. His wife Laura brushed me off when I tried reaching him. At first I thought I'd made some mistake, misread something. But every night, lying awake, I'd replayed his words, "Equal halves. No matter what," and the fury kept rising. I started digging, pulling records, talking to people. Every document told the same story. Scott had maneuvered me out of ownership, inch by inch, until I was nothing but a ghost. And then came the party invitation. His birthday, his house. The guest list full of city council members, investors, and neighbors. I almost didn't go, but something told me the stage was being set for me, or maybe by me. Back in the kitchen, I finally recognized the man in the blazer. I hadn't placed him at first, but now it clicked. Ethan Price, a developer, the kind of shark Scott always claimed to despise. And then it hit me. Ethan knew because Scott had already sold the property to him. Scott's face betrayed it, just for a flicker, his old tell, the twitch in his jaw. So that was it, the woods, the barn, the years of promises. All cashed in behind my back, signed away to a man who wouldn't see history, only dollar signs. Here's the thing. When someone steals from you once, you get angry. When they do it again, you get smarter. I'd been planning, weeks of it. I traced the transfer trail, found where the money had been funneled, how Scott had kept it hidden, even from Laura. I documented every step, quietly, carefully, like laying out a map. But I didn't want just a legal battle. Scott thrived in courtrooms and contracts. No, I wanted him cornered in a way he couldn't wiggle out of, stripped of that polished grin. So I waited. I let him throw this party, let him pack his house with the very people whose opinions he worshipped. And then I let the truth arrive right on cue, wearing a blazer. The room pulsed with silence. Scott's mouth opened, shut. He tried for charm. "Folks, this is just a misunderstanding. I assure you, misunderstanding." I cut him off. My voice came out steady, sharper than I'd expected. "You erased me from the deed. You sold the only thing we ever promised we'd share. You sold our history." Scott gasps, murmurs, eyes widening. Laura's hand finally left his arm. I pulled the folder from my jacket, copies of every transfer, every notarized betrayal. I slapped it onto the counter. Papers spilled out like cards on a table. "This is who he really is," I said. "Take a good look." Scott's face drained of color. His empire, the friends, the investors, the reputation, was collapsing right there in his own kitchen. But I wasn't finished. As chaos rippled through the party, Ethan Price bent down, scooped up the papers, and grinned. Well, that certainly makes negotiations easier. Scott turned on me, desperation raw in his eyes. You don't understand what you've done. But I did. I'd gutted him in front of the only crowd he cared about. His name was Ash now, and I could have walked out satisfied. Except there was one more piece. What no one in that room knew, not Scott, not Ethan, not Laura, was that I hadn't just exposed him. I'd already taken back what was mine. The property was no longer his to sell. The week before, I'd filed a claim, dug up our childhood contract, tracked down witnesses, leveraged every scrap of paper trail he thought he'd buried. The judge had signed off 2 days ago. Temporary injunction, pending full trial. Title reverted equally. Half mine again, and this time, I hadn't stayed silent. I'd already signed my half over to the County Conservation Trust. Irrevocable. Permanent. Scott couldn't sell what he no longer owned. He couldn't touch it at all. The woods, the barn, the summers we'd sworn on, they'd be preserved forever. He'd erased me, but I'd carved my name back into the land in a way he could never undo. Scott's lips moved, but no sound came out. Around us, the party fractured. Guests whispering, drifting away, avoiding his eyes. I stepped past him, the air in that room sharp and clean. Enjoy your party, I said. And then I left him standing there, surrounded by glass shards and silence. He'd sold me out, but I was the one who walked away owning everything that mattered.